Hi everyone, welcome to the next episode of Moneymaker Mondays. This week is episode 4 and we're going to take a look at the property at Brisbane Street, which was actually a deal that I had passed to Alex and Laurie in kind of the initial stages of Rood Group a couple of years ago, which is a 3-bedroom flat in Greenock. I'll kind of go into more detail in the overview on this, but I just wanted to take time to quickly say I hope you're enjoying the content of these videos. The introduction part every week is the most awkward for me. I never really know what to say. I watch all these people on YouTube or podcasts and they've all got kind of cool catchphrases or, certain things they say as their introductions, and it's just not me. It's not my personality to kind of do all that showmanship type stuff. So really this is just for me to openly talk, explain the type of things that I'm looking for, the kind of deals that I've done in the past, and ultimately the kind of deals that we're still trying to do, constantly acquiring for our own portfolio at Rood Group, as well as supporting all of our training clients with presenting single unit opportunities for them to purchase and add to their portfolio as they continue to grow. It's not really about the presentation in the videos or all the flashy stuff. It's really just about the open conversation and the details behind the deals and just a bit of background as to where they came from, how we assess them, and ultimately how we make money from them. Quickly on that note, actually, just an apology for last week's episode. I think I tried to play a before and after video or a bit of a kind of cool intro video that our media guy, Jacko at Bison, had put together. Unfortunately, because I'm not a YouTube guy, I never realised that the sound was playing in the video over me talking. So hopefully you still got the information you were looking for. If you've got any questions, certainly reach out and I'll answer them on that one. But that was the Monte project, which was a block of 4 flats. Really good one. Apologies again for that. But this week we're going to take a look at this one at Brisbane Street. Really good addition to the portfolio. Kind of cool, awkward background story. A few kind of to and fro before we got this one agreed. But it ultimately ended up to be a fantastic addition and a great deal for both those looking to add to their portfolio or to also flip this one. So let's get into it and take a look at Brisbane Street. So first of all, the property is a first floor 3-bedroom tenement flat. Now the first thing about this one is that the property is absolutely huge. I don't actually remember the square footage in this one, but it was massive. It was basically like a massive hallway, kind of big expansive hallway with a recessed cupboard in behind the front door. But there was 3 separate bedrooms, all good size, a full bathroom. There was then it was an integral kitchen with a living room as such, and then a front facing lounge. So it was almost like a dining kitchen, and what we ultimately ended up doing was slightly reconfiguring this and bringing the kitchen out, and we kind of turned it into a 4-bedroom as such. The property just gave so much potential to play around with, but it was kind of left in really quite poor condition. There was significant damp issues that had to be addressed. And it was interesting because a lot of the time when you're looking at these types of flats, when there's water ingress, you instantly want to consider the gutters or the roof as where the water's obviously coming and coming down. This was a first floor flat and there was significant water ingress above the bay window, and then there was also serious dampness in the bathroom. So it looked as though it had been more of an internal pipe that had burst, and it was a leak that was within the property itself. I believe there was some issues with the roof and the guttering, which had caused the water to kind of drip down on the inside wall, which is attached to the neighbouring block. But that was repaired just before I presented this deal to Alex and Laurie. But the internal damage was still there and needed addressed. So, the kind of main root of the problem was sorted, but the cosmetic side of things had to still be taken care of. And there was still high damp readings coming from it, and then there was more damp readings in the bathroom. So this kind of caused a few of the concerns when we were weighing up because there was no surveys or guarantees with this one. So the background of this was quite cool actually. So basically through my network of contacts, I work very closely with other sourcers. Now this one in particular is female, and she's very good and active in the market, works very closely with her clients, but she's also a qualified mortgage broker. But she's got really good contacts down in the Inverclyde area, and she's actually shared those contacts with me so that we can all do reciprocal business, and it's been excellent. It's been a really, really good relationship. We've done numerous deals across the years, and we continue to do so. So this was a really good introduction, and it started with the letting agent. So this letting agent's got a good presence in the area, managed a few properties for this landlord in the area, and basically what happened was the couple, I think, I don't want to go into most of the details, but something had happened, and there was a separation ongoing. I think one of the parties perhaps had been unfaithful, and they were looking to find a quiet resolution as to how to dispose of their portfolio before the divorce went through. So we had to kind of navigate through that because the response time was very, very slow, because it was going to one solicitor to another solicitor to then come back to the solicitor that was actually dealing with the conveyancing so that everybody could be aligned. And the purchase price changed, the conditions changed, there was a constant moving target with this one. But the property had been left vacant for a long time because I think there was a tenant in it, and then the damp issues came, with the water ingress coming into the flat, and just various other things. So the tenant moved out, they then had to address the problem. Because they were arguing and things, it took so long for them to actually get a solution to the works that the property just lay vacant. And then, there was a case of, right, we're splitting up, we need to get rid of them, we're not putting it on the market, I don't want any surveys or home reports or anything carried out, because to be honest, I think they were concerned what the damp might come back with. I think they were concerned what the surveys might end up telling us, in which case they might not have got the value that they were looking for. And to be fair, when I did present this one to Alex and Laurie, they did ask if there was going to be a survey. And at one point I considered getting one carried out for myself, but they weren't willing to allow any surveys, any offers subject to surveys. And that's really important, if you're looking to try and buy good deals in the market, is you need to be well versed with carrying out your own due diligence and accepting these risks, because a lot of the good deals like this one, your sellers won't allow you to go and tick every box, because if they were willing to get surveys carried out, willing to give the time, put it on the market, that's exactly what they're going to do. They're going to pay for the surveys, they're going to pay for an estate agent, they're going to get it on the market, and they're going to take their time to get the best possible price. So if you want to negotiate a discount on a good asset, you have to move quickly and you have to move with confidence. So it took a lot of kind of to and fro for me to establish that relationship with Alex and Laurie. And originally when I presented it to them at the price that I'd agreed at, they said no. And it was because of the uncertainty of no survey, damp issues, property needs work, there wasn't really any support for a comparable end value, and there was just a lot of unknowns. But thankfully, I had confidence in my research and what I found, and I positioned it again to them. I said, listen guys, I've had a look at this in more detail, I've done significant research, I've spoke to the letting agent again, I've pulled comps, I really think that you should buy this one. And they believed in my credibility, and ultimately that's how we had such a strong relationship, and why we now work collectively together at Rood Group, is because I had trust that they could get the deal over the line, and they had trust with me that I was only going to present them opportunities that were worthwhile, and that anything I said was genuine, because I had taken the time to find out and to fact check and to find all the support for what I was saying. So it ended up, like I said, being a bit of a complex one to get over the line, but as we'll see when we look at the numbers, it was an incredible deal, and the guys are absolutely thrilled that we still own this one within our portfolio. So yeah, but let's take a look at the numbers now so you can understand why they actually went for it. So let's take a look at the numbers on this one. Now, the first thing that I'll probably mention on this was that it kind of worked back to front this time, because usually when I'm direct to vendor and I'm managing these deals, I establish the position of the seller straight away, and we come to an agreement on price and expectation very quickly, because we establish timescale. We understand collectively how quickly they need a property transaction to take place, whether it's a couple of weeks, 4 weeks, 2-3 months, whatever it may be, and we apply the correct exit strategy to meet that timescale as well as their value expectation. But on this one, it was a case of the letting agent and the sourcer had brought the property to me to say, look, what will you pay for this? So it's a bit different to saying, look, I've got this flat for sale and I want X for it. It's a case of, I've got a flat for sale, make me an offer. Now that can be difficult because, one, from an investment point of view, I don't want my clients to overpay. I don't want to overpay. I want the best possible deal, but at the same time, I also want to satisfy the seller and their timescale expectations and their value expectations. But I don't know what the seller's looking for, so it's difficult to do that. And looking at comparable evidence, there wasn't a lot of support on this one. So I had actually estimated an end value of about 100 to 110 grand on this. And looking at it, I thought maybe about 15 to 20 grand is what it was going to take to fully refurbish. We had those damp concerns that were in there and just a lot of uncertainty. So I went to the client and I offered them 60 grand because I thought, yeah, I'll be able to shift it to that, 20k refurb, charge a fee, ADS, legals, all of that stuff, with an end value 110. I thought that would be decent, whether they want to flip it or add it to their portfolio. There's a decent enough margin there that I'm confident I'll get a buyer for it. But the sellers came back and said that no chance. They instantly said it's not going to happen at 60 grand. So I was like, right, okay, well, this is why I don't like to operate like that. I could have really pissed them off, but it's a stab in the dark. They're giving me nothing to play with. So I came back and I said, look, what are you considering? What is it you want? If 60 grand's not enough, where do you need it to be? And they seem to have an expectation of about 80 as to what they wanted. But looking at that comparable evidence, it was difficult to establish that. So we basically countered, and I went back and I looked and I found more supporting evidence that suggested a potential end value about 125. And I thought, okay, at 125, I've got a 15k increase on where I was at. So I went back in and I said, look, I don't think 80 will work. I think it's increased ADS, there's increased expenses with that. Don't know what the refurb's going to be. End value still maybe about 110. I'm unsure because there's not enough comparable evidence. And I just explained this to the letting agent and the sourcer to relay it all to the sellers, to understand that, look, we're not just trying to rip the arse out it. These are genuine concerns that we can't seem to kind of plug the gaps. So I went back with a countered offer of £70,000 and they accepted. So it was great. I went to Alex and Laurie and we positioned it and we moved forward. But because of the dynamic of this deal, about 2 weeks before we were due to conclude, the sellers came back to me and basically said that they wanted an extra 3 grand. They had decided, I think, probably to cover legal costs or something, but I think because they were originally holding out for this £80,000 figure, that they just wanted a bit extra. So it wasn't ideal for me because it's not how I operate. Certainly not with my clients after they paid fees to secure the deal and all the rest of it. That I had to go back to Alex and Laurie and say, look, I need another 3 grand off of this. And it was difficult, because we had a good relationship and they seen the benefit and the value of that. They nearly walked away from this deal in the first place. So, but because they trusted my credibility and that I knew what I was doing, that they committed to it. So yeah, we were far too close down the line that they just said, right, we'll increase to that 3 grand. So ultimately we paid a purchase price of 73k. Legal fees were about 800 quid on the way in. ADS, because we're above the 40 grand threshold, we had to pay was just under 3 grand, 2,920. Sourcing fee, because of the price increase and various other factors, the sourcing fee was $3,000 on this one. Probably could have got more, but like I said, the dynamic is between us, it was all a long-term relationship, and there was still some uncertainty on it, but obviously I had to look after the letting agent and the other sourcer out that fee, so it wasn't massive in terms of the numbers for myself, but it did wonders for our relationship moving forward. So yeah, still money in the bank at the end of the day. Now, my estimated refurb of 15 to 20k was undercut by Alex and Laurie and their creative contractors. They managed to complete a full renovation, a full refurbishment on this property of 11.5 grand. The reason I say that is, you remember last week's episode, we do distinguish between renovation and refurbishment. Renovation wasn't required on this, albeit some damp concerns. It was just an internal refurb. So yeah, 11.5k. Total acquisition costs, including all fees and refurbishment, 91,220. End value. So we actually kept this one as part of Rood Group's portfolio, and it revalued at 140 grand. So it's £15,000 above what my expectation was. But Alex and Laurie had actually managed to reconfigure the layout on this one to offer up as 4 bedrooms, which was very clever. So they did that as part of the 11.5k cost. So yeah, really, really good deal. Excellent numbers. But ultimately, that's just numbers on paper. Let's see exactly how Alex and Laurie made money on this, and an alternative strategy as to how you could make money on similar deals. So, of course, Rood Group are all about buy-to-let at massive scale. And at this moment, when that is still our main focus, but at the moment when I passed this deal to Alex and Laurie, growing the buy-to-let portfolio was their main focus. It was the only thing they were doing at that point. So if we take a look at the buy-to-let numbers, you can clearly see why they opted to implement this strategy. So from a total acquisition cost of £91,220 with an end value of 140k, looking at the commercial refinance value which we operate at Rood Group, we get a 70% LTV with our current lender, which meant we were able to extract £98,000 at the point of refinance, given the new value of 140 grand. We currently have this occupied for £750 per month. Monthly running costs, you get a management fee at 10%, so that's £75. Our insurance, I think it's less than this now, but it's about 12 quid a month. And then the interest on the loan at about 4.5% APRs, about £357.50 per month. Now, ultimately, what that means is we had no money left in this deal. In fact, we actually made nearly 7 grand in tax-free profit. Now, the reason it's tax-free is because we haven't actually sold anything, so we can't be taxed on it. All we have done is increase the loan value, and it just subsequently means that all of our costs to buy and do the property up has only cost us 91,220, but the 70% that the bank is willing to give us against the current value of the property was 98. So that means we put nearly 7 grand profit into the bank, which is a nice bonus, pays for a refurb on another project or helps fund an acquisition. And the positive monthly cash flow is sitting at £305.50 every month. So really, really solid numbers on this one. And I knew it was a great deal, albeit there was difficulties in finding support for that end value. Even if it did value at the 125, the guys would have pretty much had all their money back out and would have had solid cash flow. In fact, the cash flow would have been even better because the loan value would be less. So yeah, this is one of our highest valued assets within the portfolio. We don't usually buy stuff that will value it more than 120k just because of the yields and various other factors. But when you can start to get like a £700 per month plus monthly rental income, gross rental income against an asset that's worth about 140, it becomes worthwhile. So yeah, absolutely brilliant numbers on this one, and we've done similar deals like this. But this was a fantastic one to add to any kind of portfolio, and you can clearly see why. But if you wanted to opt for a different strategy and buy-to-let wasn't your chosen method, let's take a look at how this might have stacked up if you'd done a flip. So if we look at the total acquisition costs again, we know from the previous slide that we're looking at £91,220, including all your legal fees, purchase price, sourcing fees, your refurb and any additional dwelling tax that we had to pay. Your sales costs, averaging, let's say it's 1% for a sales fee from an estate agent, 1% plus VAT or whatever it would be, I factored in about £1,680 for a sales fee. Legal fees, probably the same on the way back out, but £800. Home report, about £360, including VAT, something in that kind of region. So looking at it, if we were to achieve full home report value on the sale at 140 grand, we have a total potential profit of just under £46,000 before tax. So that's a juicy lump sum to do on a flip, especially when the project probably took the guys, I think it was only about 5 or 6 weeks to complete, albeit you've got restrictions regarding your 6-month rule and all the other things. But yeah, in terms of potential profit, if you sat on this for the 6 months to sell to a buyer who required a mortgage, you might have some other running costs, council tax or whatever it may be. Like I say, I don't factor those things into these types of presentations. It's all individual, things can change, don't know what the council agreement is and all the rest of it. So these are the headline figures. But for talking sake, you're going to be very close to these numbers. So this would have been a fantastic flip deal had the guys chosen to do it. And these don't come around very often. So I'm confident had they put this on the market, they would have done the minimum home report value, because in this location, in the kind of west end of Greenock, as you say, these types of properties are rarely available, and because of the size of them, they're so popular. They're massive, albeit they're flats. They could very comfortably be family homes. So yeah, this would have been a perfect buy to flip as well. But it's just, today was really just to give you another insight into yet another deal that offered all money out, infinite return in asset, or massive 40 to 50 grand lump sum profit by exiting on a flip. So yeah, that brings us to the end of Brisbane Street. You'll see us kind of talk about this one throughout our training, actually, because it really did kind of bolster the relationship between myself, Alex and Laurie, because of the dynamics as to how this deal was put together and the trust that we all kind of had to have in each other. So this one is iconic for me, really good one. The guys love it, and as you can see, multiple ways to make money in property. This was just one example. So any feedback, any comments or questions, just drop a comment down below. We'd appreciate if you can also subscribe to the Road Training channel. And yeah, I look forward to having a look at more deals with you and making more money. Thank you.